Good afternoon. Welcome to the Chai Academy. I am Rabbi Sachs, Yaakov Sachs, and I'm excited to be with you today. So we are in the middle of this huge, large course called Ethics and Beliefs, Jewish Ethics and Beliefs for that matter. And each class is self-contained, but there's some different, different topics. We also have in our repertoire, in the Chai Academy, literally another, 300 classes above and beyond this course. This is, I believe, number 43. I believe for the ethics and beliefs. I think. So today's topic, by the way, to see those classes, it's thechaicenter.com/academy. It's also available on Spotify. You can put in my name, you can put in Chai Academy, YouTube, Anchor. I think there's other places as well, but it's not my bailiwick, the PR part. So today's course is called a good question from Eileen. Any news on Rabbi Moskowitz? I did get a WhatsApp from him today. Rabbi Moskowitz is the chief rabbi of Kharkov, Ukraine, to say that it's unsafe to walk the streets. He is sheltering in place as of now in his house, which is terrible because he's the leader. But I have heard no more than that. So today's class is called the Judaism's view of death and afterlife, heaven, hell. What exactly is it that we as Jews believe? Now, it's interesting when you talk to many Jewish people about the the concept of death and afterlife, they look at you strange and they say, hold on a second here. Judaism believes in afterlife. Judaism believes in reincarnation. Judaism believes, I've been going to synagogue for 40 years. I've never heard my rabbi talk about it. And on the one hand, that's good, but on the other hand, that's bad. The reason why it's good is because the Torah, we're talking about the Tanakh, the Torah, the 5 books of Moses, and then the 19 books of writings and prophets, don't talk about it either. It's completely this concept of, it just says somebody dies. It doesn't talk about what happens after you die. It doesn't talk about heaven and hell at all in the Torah. Yes, you can find heaven and hell in the Talmud. You can find it in the Muslim movement, in the Hasidic movement. You can find it in the philosophy department of Judaism and the machshava, the deep thinkers. They all talk about it, but it's not in the Torah. It's only alluded to in the Torah. So the question is why? Why doesn't the Torah talk about it? And I believe the answer as to why Torah doesn't mention it at all is because too many people are wrapped up in dying and not enough living. You have to realize that when the Torah was given and the Hebrews, the Jews, they came out of Egypt, right? Think about Egypt. Egypt, they had the pyramids for the dead. They had, and they had to embalm them in a certain way, and they had the, and every religion, all going back all the way, even as late as today, are consumed with death and dying and afterlife. Consumed. If you don't believe, there's no salvation, and you're going to burn in hell, and if you commit jihad, then you get 72 rolls of sushi, right? Yeah, there is so much wrapped up in the afterlife. The Torah didn't even want to go there. It was such a fragile set of people, and and beyond, the Torah just said, let's focus in on what you have to do here and now. This is the life of transformation. This soul and physical body is where you can grow. Soul and physical body is where you can do physical acts of kindness, random acts of kindness. You can do mitzvahs, colloquially expressed as a good deed. You could do so much. So why be obsessed with death and the afterlife? It does exist. It does exist, but it does exist. But it's not the focus of us living. So the Torah took it out. So it's, in one hand, I understand the rabbis. I understand the rabbis not talking about it because you talk about other things. On the other hand, it's very sad because there's such a limited knowledge out there. There's such a there's a dearth of understanding of what is a soul, etc., etc. This spiritual equation has been taken out of Judaism purposefully. So instead of talking about the ethereal and the spiritual and the soul and the intangibles, and they talk about tikkun olam. You gotta water the horses and save the whales and pay it forward when you buy a latte. All good stuff, but we also have a whole other spiritual side to us as well. We don't only live once, as we'll discuss. And by the way, just a heads up, this class may be given over 2 classes and not one. So we have a spiritual side. So the fact that the rabbis and the teachers and the scholars and the cantors have not talked about it, it does not mean it doesn't exist. So if this is an eye-opener for you, and by the way, I'd love for you to comment if this is an eye-opener for you. That would just kind of prove my point and make me reflect more as to the fact that who had any idea about a soul? Who had any idea about an afterlife? Who had any idea about Judaism as heaven and hell? But what are they? So, interesting. In the Torah, when Jacob died, the Torah makes a comment. It's Torah, right? It says, Yaakov, it's actually in the Talmud based on the Torah. Yaakov Avinu lo met. Jacob, our forefather, did not die. How do you say such a thing? How do you say such a thing? How can you say he didn't die? I mean, we even know where he's buried. We even know you go to Hebron and you can actually visit the building. The graves are underground, and you have to walk up 40 steps, and you pray there. But really, the graves are below ground. When you go to the Ma'arat HaMachpelah, so how can when the Torah doesn't say that Jacob died, it says Jacob was gathered unto his people, and the Talmud says he didn't die. What on earth is going on? So I think the answer to this is as follows. Judaism, if you ask me, does Judaism believe in life after death? I would say no. No. It's a non-starter as far as I'm concerned. If there's death, there's death. There's no life after death. And that's why I purposefully, this class is called Death and After Life. I reversed it. Is there life after death? No. You cannot. Something that's dead is dead. Something that's alive is alive. And if it's dead, it's dead. So the Talmud is correct, because we don't die. We don't die. As it's brought down in Tanya, in the book of Kabbalah, the Nefesh Hashenis Elokis Mimal. There is a second soul that's a part of godliness. Godliness does not die. Right? Godliness does not die. So how do we explain death? How do we explain death then? If death doesn't, if life If something's alive doesn't die, how do we explain what happens? I mean, I have a funeral on Thursday, clearly, right? So what's going on here? So I'm going to give you just a very simple example to understand how Judaism explains what we call death is, and I want you to think about it in different terms from here on in. So I see nobody commented. So I'll give it to you in a very, very silly example. My phone, my cell phone. I don't have an iPhone. I have a Samsung. iPhones are for dummies. That's just a joke. By the way, talk about another joke is I was on the way to Beth David the other day, and I had the GPS how to get to Beth David, and the GPS, when I arrived there, it says, "You have arrived at your destination." And I shut the thing off and I said, I'm never turning this GPS on again. My destination. So I have a phone. Now this phone and I have a we have an interesting relationship. We have part of us it's a symbiotic relationship. It likes me, I like it, and it deals with me, and I deal with it. Part of it, I believe, the phone, my Samsung, my Android, seeks to control me because it wants me to hold it in the bathroom while I'm taking a bath, while taking a shower, while I have insomnia, when I just wake up, right before I go to bed. It's always, it has this Oedipus complex, and it wants to be attached. It wants me to be attached with it. And I am. And there are times where I say, Genug shein. Enough. This has got to end. Cannot deal with this anymore, and we need a break. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, and we need a break. So I say to phone, Shabbat is coming. I'm not going to use the phone for 25 hours. I put it on my night table, and slowly but surely, the battery gets less and less. It's not charging, and the phone dies. No battery. Now, what does it mean the phone is dead? Because the minute I plug it in again, it's alive. So, is it alive or is it dead? The same thing with my refrigerator. It wants to be emancipated, not chained to the wall. I pull it out, and my avocado goes bad, right? My tomatoes get warm because it's dead. You plug it in again, it's alive. So what's this game of alive and dead, alive and dead? So I think that is what happens to the body. The body, when the soul leaves the body becomes unplugged. Unplugged. The electricity is no longer flowing through this body. Right? And it's so apparent, by the way. My father, when he passed away, so I saw him 2 days before he passed away, and then I was on the West Coast, and I flew back, and I saw him right after he passed away. It's clearly this has been unplugged, right? Clearly it's been unplugged. There's no vitality. Now, let's go back to the phone. If I plug in this phone, it's no longer unplugged and it starts working. Why? So the answer is because it touches electricity. So when I unplug this phone, the electricity is still there. It's there. The electricity goes back to where electricity goes. By the way, I have no idea how electricity is made. I don't know if I can even see electricity. I can see an arc if I cut a wire, but I have no idea what I'm talking about. But the electricity is always there. That outlet is live. But the refrigerator or the phone or the computer or laptop, whatever it is unplugged. And the same thing happens with the body. The body is unplugged. The soul goes back to wherever the electricity came from. It goes back to its energy, or whatever the soul is. Like electricity, it is energy, and the soul lives on. So it's really the body that becomes unplugged. But the essence of the person, what drove them, is what gave them their character, what we call spiritual DNA, is very, very much alive. And that's why the Torah could say he was gathered into his people. The Talmud could say he did not die. He didn't die. We mourn when the body becomes unplugged, because the connection's been broken, and a deep hole opens. Somebody once told me, a rabbi once told me, that when a person passes in our life, a hole opens up, a ditch opens up, and we fall into this ditch, and we try to get out of this ditch, and it takes us a while, and eventually we climb out of the ditch. And he explained, can you imagine you have in your dining room, all of a sudden you dig this 6-foot pit in your dining room, and you keep on tripping into it, and eventually you learn to navigate this ditch. The ditch is still there, the hole is still there, but you now navigate it, and once in a while you fall in, maybe by a yahrzeit, anniversary of passing, or maybe an anniversary, or whatever it may be. Now, I would not advise you, by the way, if you go to a shiva and say, I'm sorry that your loved one got unplugged, because that this is just, we're trying to intellectually grasp it. So that's a term I use. But you know how many stupid things people say at shiva? Unbelievable. They can actually, maybe I should write a book about the stupid things people say at shiva. I recently sat shiva a year ago now for my sister, and they say, okay, she's in a good place, and I go, yeah. Why don't you go to that good place if it's so good, right? Or or somebody's sick, you're relieved. I go, yeah, I am so relieved. I just lost my father. I can't tell you relieved. I'm jumping for joy. Comments like this. So I would not advise you to say to somebody, oh, I just learned your loved one got unplugged, but it's unplugged. So the bottom line is that the energy is always there. Just the body is no longer tapped into it. Just Judaism believe in reincarnation. We believe in reincarnation. We believe in resurrection. We do believe in resurrection. And the Christians actually got it from us, but we do believe in reincarnation. So what is reincarnation specifically? Is that's on a soul level. The soul goes into another body and energizes another body. Doesn't have to be a human form either. Hopefully it is. That's sort of a reward. What is resurrection? Is that the very same body that you lived in once gets re-plugged in, just like my Android, just like my microwave, just like my refrigerator, etc., etc. So yes, we do believe in these things. Absolutely do. And once again, it is alluded to in the Torah through Remuzim, through you have to read between the lines. But the Talmud, the Kabbalah, Zohar, Tanya teaches incredible amounts about it. So it is there. So to recap, soul doesn't die. So if it doesn't die, then it can live. If it doesn't die, then it does live because it's alive and it continues to live. The body becomes unplugged, and the body therefore is buried. Body's holy. It's still holy because it housed. It's not like a refrigerator that you throw out. God forbid. The body's holy because it housed a part of God. and therefore we treat the body with complete respect and reverence. And we have a whole class, I believe there's a whole class in the Chai Academy on burial versus cremation, and we have what to do when you lose a loved one. This is all in the Chai Academy from previous classes. You can search it up by topic. Life cycles, I believe it's on the Chai Academy. Life cycles. So that is the scoop with us living. Anybody have any questions before we continue? Okay. So we move on. So we know that we there's a joke, by the way. There's a joke that before we begin on the next track about this fellow who's a miser his whole life, complete miser, would not give charity. He was very wealthy, and he wouldn't. Right before he died, this miser, somebody approached him for money. He gave the guy a nickel, 5 cents. He gave him 5 cents. And the beggar took it, looked at the 5 cents, was disappointed, and then the wealthy man had a massive cardiac arrest and died. His soul goes up to heaven, and the heavenly court, they said he's got to go to hell. And the prosecuting, the prosecutor, the defendant, the lawyers for the defendant, they said, oh no, he gave away a nickel. They said, a nickel? They said, yeah, a nickel. What's a nickel? His whole life. The bottom line, was there change or was there not change? Did the person change? If we would have let him live another hour, maybe he would have given away $1. 2 hours, $100. Maybe he would, if he would live to the next day, he would pay, give $1,000 and millions of dollars if just have let him live. So they were arguing. They didn't know what to do with this person. So what they did is they went to God. God heard both sides. And God said, I've made my decision. And the decision was, give him back his nickel and send him to hell. So that's a joke, tongue-in-cheek. Does Judaism believe in heaven? Does it believe in hell? So I guess it depends. It depends on one's definition of heaven and hell. Judaism does not believe in that you get to heaven and there's 72 virgins, there's 72 pizza pies, there's 72 sushis, there's 72. We don't believe in any type of reward, that you get to bask in with physical stuff, and you no longer have to eat organic stuff, and you don't have to be a vegan or a macrobiotic, I think it's called. I don't know. You can eat whatever you want. It's not that at all. Also, I think the notion of you burn in hell, or you hope you freeze in hell, and all this Judaism rejects. It's not, there's nobody standing there with a pitchfork, right? And you're saying, okay, welcome to Dante's Inferno. It's nothing like that, right? Dante's Inferno with the 9 levels or whatever. It's it's not. It's in Dante's brain, which was clearly he was very creative and probably very warped. I mean, let's be honest, if you've ever read Dante's Inferno. But it's not that. It's not that. It's a certain state of being, but there's no burning. There's no burning of the body or burning of the feet, or ripping out your soul's fingernails, or nothing like that at all. So what is heaven and what is hell? Right? Also, that's a question that we pose. Another question I think that we pose is, do we believe in eternal damnation? Do we believe that once you go to hell, that you are always in hell? That you can be eternally damned, and that there's no hope. You will not be saved, and you'll be, you'll be with, Saddam Hussein. You're going to be his roommate for the rest of your life, right? I mean, do we believe in eternal damnation? Do we believe in no hope, all hope lost? So, do we believe in that? That's a second question. So, do we believe in hell and heaven? The answer is yes, but not the general populace understanding, right? There's no Satan. We actually don't believe in a Satan, which is interesting. Just don't believe in it. Don't believe Satan rebelled against God. Satan is an accusing, testing force, but it's not anti-God. It works with God. It's God's servant to test us. And do we believe in eternal damnation? And I think there's other questions that decomposition process. Where does that fit in? Does everybody decompose? Where does that fit in? So these are the questions that we will explore. Probably not today. We will explore tomorrow. But so I think that's what we'll do. So today we spoke about death. Today we spoke about the concept of what it means, death, what death is, right? And we've learned that it's only the body, not the soul, and it's only because the body got unplugged, and we mourn. And by the way, there's another reason why we mourn. It's not only because we've lost contact with the physical body. We also mourn because, once again, this is the world of growth. This is the world of action. Up there, a soul without a body, there is no action. We live this world, this universe is called the world of action. Once a soul leaves the body, I'm not going to say go to heaven. Once a soul leaves the body, there's no more action. It's just results of one's action, but it's not action. As they say, in this world, you can write a check to charity. In the next world, they reward you based on your receipts from the charity. Can't write a check in the next world. You can show them receipts. So that's to be explored. So tomorrow's class, we're going to talk about heaven and hell. So Don asked a question: what things can be done to best prepare the soul after the body dies? I'm not sure, Don, if you're referring to immediately after passing. Is it for the body, for the soul? You're asking the soul. So the best thing to do to prepare the soul is to basically do good, do right, righteousness. Don't listen to the vices. Listen to the still small voice that's not emotional, that's trying to, your inclination, your instinct, the good one, and cast aside your emotional negative inclination and instinct. That's on one foot. I mean, maybe we can talk about that, but that is essentially the gist there. Good question, and we will follow that up, I hope. So tune in tomorrow. Please join us tomorrow at 1 o'clock for the Chai Academy, where we talk about heaven and hell. And please, two things. One is, please share this class. Two, please share the link of thechaicenter.com/academy. It will help the cause of spreading Torah. Now, in this tough time with the war on Ukraine and the war on morality, we need as much good deeds as we can. Torah, study Torah, extra prayers, give charity, and let's do random acts of kindness, which will be in response to the random acts of viciousness and evil that is going on in Europe. God bless.